So today we're going to take a look at SSRS, SQL Server Reporting Services on SharePoint 2013. Here we have a standard SharePoint 2013 team site with the prominent navigation buttons, newsfeed, documents, quick launch on the left, and ribbon across the top. On this team site, I went ahead and loaded some data for states, and if we go into the list ribbon for quick edit, you can see here it's kind of a spreadsheet, almost data sheet mode editing, where we can enter a lot of data quickly. And here I put in a bunch of postal abbreviations with numbers. Over on the shared documents library, I went ahead and enabled advanced content types and added 3 content types to this site. They are the report builder model, the report builder report, and finally the data source. Once those are added, what you can do is click New Report Builder Report in order to launch Report Builder 3.0. Save a little time. I went ahead and created a demo already that has a data source. The data source goes back to that SharePoint list, so if we check out the properties, connection string, we can test it, successful. So here we're just telling it, get the data from this SharePoint site, and it brings in different lists, and I went ahead and I picked out 2 fields on that one data set. So if we go ahead and preview the report, then Report Builder is going to show us our different values coming through and mapping them to the different states using a template that we selected when we designed the report. So that's kind of Report Builder from a design experience. There's a lot of things we can add as far as charts, maps, gauges, and indicators. A lot of different options up here as far as visuals. Right now we're only showing the map option because it lends itself well to the data we have. There's a lot of things you can do to design your report here. No programming, no coding, just power user activities going through the wizard. If we save that file back to our SharePoint site and then click the RDL to navigate into the report, see here is the report rendering. And this has the timestamp for when it was loaded. You can click the Actions menu and then export this to different formats like PDF and Excel. You can even subscribe to it and have it email that report on a regular basis. Also in the same library, I put another report called Bar Chart States, and this one is a little bit different in that we didn't use the map wizard, we used the bar chart. And this one is a little bit different in that instead of the map wizard, I chose the chart wizard just to graph the data vertically. Very simplistic chart, certainly a lot of things you could do to tweak and change that. But the key themes with SSRS are the scheduling, the exporting. If you wanted a daily PDF emailed to 100 people that came from a live database query, this is a pretty good way to do those sort of things. In addition to classic SSRS RDL files, I also loaded PowerView. And here we have the picnic library with 3 different files. The first one is our Excel data file. That's an XLSX, normal Excel file. The one in the middle is the finished report, RDLX. And the one at the bottom is a data source, and that's an RSDS. All 3 of them work together to create the PowerView experience. Let's go ahead and check out the Excel file. So over here in Microsoft Excel, we can see that we have a number of tabs across the bottom. Dates, items, quantities, distributors. Those are 4 key entities for our data model. And basically what PowerView does is it surfaces data you created with PowerPivot. And what PowerPivot does is it lets you make a relational database in Excel. So if I have 4 different tabs and there's 4 different tables and they're kind of connected to each other, PowerPivot lets me hook all those relationships, the one-to-many, the parent-child. And once that's done, PowerPivot will display it in an interesting way in the web browser. But right now, we're just working with PowerPivot. So here we have our first tab for dates, and there's items, there's quantities and distributors, 4 tabs, 4 tables of data. Pretty basic. Let's go ahead and what we're going to do is click on PowerPivot and then Manage in order to go into the PowerPivot Designer. So this is an add-in that's optionally installed on Excel 2010, but with Excel 2013 it comes out of the box. And this is the PowerPivot add-in. In the bottom right corner, it's very subtle, but we can see a table view or a relationship view. In the bottom left, we can see our different data entities. And right here we have 4, which match up with the 4 different tables that were in our Excel workbook. Up at the top here, we can go get external data for downloading, along with a whole litany of things for views and calculation. And I'm going to click in the bottom right to switch over here to relationship view, because I think that's the best way to look at the data. Wow, that looks like a SQL database, and for good reason. It pretty much is. What we have here are 4 different worksheets from the workbook. But more than that, they're connected. The little lines between them show relationships. And if we hover the line, it shows us the primary key and the foreign key. So for example, a distributor has many items. An item has many quantities. And a date can consist of many quantities. So kind of, if we arrange it a little bit differently, we can move these around. Quantity sort of sits in the middle there. And we have a reset layout. We can zoom in and zoom out. And we can toggle which fields we want to see. For example, if we only want to see the columns from the original data source, we'll just toggle columns right here in the center. To show the calculated fields, these are essentially the things we're layering on top of the source data. We can see those with a slightly different icon. And so those are calculated based on the input data. Some summations and quantities and counts and things like that. So here's our data model. Pretty cool. Great way to look at it, sort of laying things out. Okay, if we come back to the other view, we can actually see the original data. And here, if we go over to quantities, we can see the formulas in the bottom panel that feed into these calculated fields. So if we click, sum of quantity consumed, sum of attendees, year to date, there's some formulas you can do. Essentially, you're setting up a pivot table, but on top of the original data. So PowerPivot is its own area. I know this is kind of just a real quick introduction to it, but think of it as building a SQL database inside of Excel for people that don't write programming code. Once this is done, we can come over to our website and we can go make a data source. And again, with the content types, we would do new report data source. I have one ready already here, so let's take a look. If we edit the definition, what the data source file has is the address to the workbook. Not a whole lot to it. It just says, here's the workbook file, go get everything from Excel, and I am a BI semantic model for PowerView. So that's kind of the configuration on the data file. Now, once you have a data file, you can hover the ECB, Edit Control Block, which is this little menu here, and you get a few interesting options. You get, of course, the Edit, which we already looked at, but you also get this one, Create a PowerView Report. And when we do that, it brings us into the PowerView browser experience. So now we're looking at the PowerView browser experience. And this is something that would be served to desktop clients. It actually works well on touchscreens too, iPads and tablets, the network connectivity's there. So let me go ahead and turn this to full screen mode. And I guess the thing to remember is this is all happening in the web browser. It requires no software on the client, and we're just looking at the data. We did the Excel PowerPivot to create a data model, and we published that model. Now PowerView is just to interact with it and explore the data. So here we're looking at the canvas, and we have no filters active, and we're kind of seeing some bar charts, some icons, line charts. We have a little scroller here that if we scroll along, it shows us different icons. And this whole data set is about food. We have different quantities. Is it a beverage? Is it a certain category? Fruits and vegetables. And so there's all these different charts and filters we can do. One of the things about PowerView is that the more you click the chart, the more it changes. And that's the big difference. SSRS is flat. It is a finished product. Think of SSRS as a oil painting. It's done. It's finished. Here is the layout. One person designs it, a different person looks at it. PowerPivot is a little more democratic. The people looking at it are designing it. You change the report by clicking on it. It's meant to be interactive. It's a whiteboard. So it's a draft, more kind of a post-it note, free area where you can explore and really navigate the data. So if I click on these icons on the left to, I don't know, select one of the beverage icons, you'll see the spinning blue circle as it filters the other charts to match. So after selecting the icon, we have filtered the report down to that particular item, which is, I believe, apple juice in the beverage category. And so here we have a chart showing sales over the different months. We also have a thing showing which distributors move that particular product. And I can hover other items here and scroll through my list. And, you know, they always say don't compare apples to oranges, right? Let's pick apple from fruit. And so now we're looking at apples, not apple juice. And we'll control click to turn on oranges. And so now we're actually comparing apples to oranges. In the fruit category, we see the different distributors. Here we can see that all of them are from fruit. There's 706 in total. And by the way, when you hover these charts, in the corner it has a pop-out icon. And so you can actually zoom in to one given chart and hover the components in order to see the values. And then go ahead and zoom back out. That's pretty nice. It's a good feature to have. And so, you know, as you change your filters, you can zoom in, you can zoom out. If we go ahead and click this icon, that'll remove the filter and show us the full data set. Okay, and so here if we do maybe just fruits or just vegetables, we can certainly kind of get into our categories and change things that way. So here we are looking at all of our distributors, but only for vegetables, and you know, seeing which vendors actually move the most product that way. Now, in the bottom right corner, we have one of two. Let's go ahead and click to the second page. And so here we have a couple different charts. We have sort of this business card chart where we have a high number of small line charts showing different categories. And if we wanted to work with our filters, we can take those off. And so maybe we just want to compare, I don't know, apple, apple juice, avocado, everything that's in the A's. And we want to see 4 different charts side by side based on that selection. There we go. We've got those 4 selected. Maybe we keep the avocado, but we want to add kiwi, orange, and strawberry. And so just by hitting the check boxes on the right, the chart layout is actually adjusting. And it's dynamically drawing the chart to match the filters selected. And it does this based on what makes the most sense. So you choose the data, it decides how to draw it. And so we get out of the business of doing chart layouts and we get into the business of thinking about our data. And you know, PowerView is very good at that. It does the drawing for you, and so the end user is more of a filter, navigate role, but they're not doing things like axis alignment, you know, toolbar, add new chart. All those kind of things go away, and we focus more on the actual data. So let me pop out of that chart, back down to the full screen. Go ahead and clear some filters. Finally, my favorite chart is over here. We have a timeline, and so this is an animation. And if you look in the bottom left corner, there's a little play button, and then we have this timeline across the bottom. And what's going to happen is it actually animates the picture. So let's go ahead and just hit that play button, and we can see the products moving from month to month as they had higher and lower sales volume. We can replay that. See them move and transition from one group to the next. We're color coding them based on category. So up here in the top left, we have fruits, vegetables, bread, and beverage. Interestingly, if we actually click on that, like click on beverage, for example, it highlights the blue items. The other ones are still shown, but the blue ones are highlighted. We do red for breads, orange for fruit, green for vegetable, hit play. We can see those green circles a little more clearly. The other ones are still there, but we're just highlighting. Fruits and vegetables only. Rewind our timeline to January, hit play, and watch only those particular shapes animate. And so it really allows us, to drill into the data set in new and interesting ways that we've never really been able to do before. So here, if I only want to watch fruits and just animate that one product group, we certainly can. And there's all these other filters we can do, maybe just for a couple of months. Maybe we don't want to do all of the fruits. Maybe I just want to watch, I don't know, banana and kiwi, just those 2 items. I mean, really going, to a granular level. And we'll hit the play icon, and we can move forward through time watching only those 2 products. Whereas we started out with the whole database, now we're just analyzing the movement of 2 entities. So this is a pretty cool interface, great way to look at time-based data and something new in the Microsoft Suite. So that's kind of a demo of PowerView, along with a look at PowerPivot for the data model, and traditional SSRS with kind of rendering those PDF reports and doing things, more of the classic reporting way. So thank you for watching, and I hope it was useful.